Colorado's offense will look brand new next season with Brennan Marion calling plays, and there's a handful of players that are going to become stars because of him.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs, everybody. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in the business. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow over here at Locked On Buffs because we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and we're really close to 8,000 subscribers, so we'd love to get there. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Marion bump. Right, Brennan Marion is a new offense coordinator for Colorado, and I think he's going to help not a select few, but there's going to be a handful of guys who will go from Colorado fan favorites to household names around college football with him calling plays, and I'll get into that a little bit later. We're going to talk about the 6 transfer portal players that I would target right now if I were Colorado, and then we're going to be talking about Shedeur Sanders' future because a lot of people are saying it's not with the Browns, and I kind of disagree. Let's talk the Brennan Marion bump. So if you didn't know, Colorado had Pat Shurmur calling plays for the past couple of years. It looked fine in 2024, because he had Shador Sanders, an NFL quarterback, throwing to the #2 overall pick in Travis Hunter and 3 other NFL caliber receivers. And it was like, oh, cool. Like the offense is solid, right? It looks good. They could score whenever they wanted. And it turns out it was all the personnel making the play caller look really good. And Colorado's offense this year was anemic. They ranked in the hundreds in just about every category. They were below average. They were a disappointment. They were just underwhelming altogether. And a lot of the blame was pointed to Pat Shurmur, as deservedly so. He got demoted during the middle of the season, and things didn't really get better. Brett Bartolone had an opportunity to sort of take over, and he did. He tried to make lemonade out of rocks, and it just didn't work, right? The offense was just uninspired and terrible. So Coach Prime goes out and makes one of the biggest hires of the offseason, bringing in Brennan Marion, who created the go-go offense. It's predicated on confusion. It's predicated on running the football, and just about anyone in that offense can eat, whether it's the quarterback throwing the ball or the running backs. So I'm going to give you the 5 names who I think will be the biggest beneficiaries of Colorado's new offense, starting with the most obvious, Julian Lewis. So I think Brennan Marion has made average quarterbacks look really good, and above average quarterbacks look great. A la Kenny Pickett. His offense is inventive. It's exciting. And just last year with UNLV, because I would say they have the easiest sort of UNLV, he had 2 years there. And he, as people have pointed out frequently, he doesn't stick around a lot, mostly because he keeps getting promoted, which is a discussion for a different day. But last year, UNLV's quarterback, they started off with Matthew Sluka. And even though Matthew Sluka only completed 43.8% of his passes, he had 6 touchdowns and an interception. And he was also really good with his legs. UNLV had a hot start to the season. And then Haj Malik Williams took over, and he threw for nearly 2,000 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, right? I think Julian Lewis has a potential to be one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. And so him throwing to the weapons that he's going to have with an offense that really caters to putting him in position to have easy throws, right? Brennan Marion talked there's videos going around about him talking about the go-go offense. And he's like, yeah, we want to make defenses play certain coverages. So that way we run the ball down their throats. And then eventually it's like, okay, we can't just key in on the quarterback. And so Julian Lewis is going to be able to push the ball down the field. I think he has a great deep ball, probably one of the best in the Big 12. And I think having an offense that will help him get more confidence quicker and set up easier throws for him will only help him grow as a quarterback. Plus, I know a lot of people say that the go-go offense really predicates on the quarterback being able to run. I think part of that's true. I do think Julian Lewis is going to have to run more than maybe he was accustomed to in high school or even this year. That being said, Brennan Marion has said time and time again, you don't have to be the most mobile quarterback to have success in his offense. And so I imagine he knows very well how to sort of figure things out and make sure that his quarterback is doing A-okay. So Julian Lewis is my first sort of guy who I think is going to really take that next step next year. I thought that was going to happen regardless because we saw from him in his few starts this season. 589 yards, completed 55% of his passes, 4 touchdowns. he was smart. He can make plays. He's creative with his legs. And I think having a little bit more direction will help him out. Up next, we're going to go receiver. I think there's a duo of them, Omarion Miller and Joseph Williams. So the one reason that I'm picking both of these guys, and I think the same goes for both of them, is Brennan Marion's offense. I know they're going to be running the ball a lot more, and I know it's going to be much more physical than Colorado has even dreamed of being these past couple years. But you just look at sort of the numbers that I guess the numbers and the production that Brennan Marion's got in the passing game. Ricky White Jr., Ricky White the third, 79 catches for 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. He was very much like the guy for UNLV last season. He was, and he's doing well in the NFL. He's on the Seahawks. He's going to have an opportunity to work his way onto the roster eventually, I think. But Ricky White was one of the best receivers in UNLV history, and I think it was Brennan Marion that really helped get it out of him. Jordan Addison had a tremendous year under Marion's tutelage. Xavier Worthy had a tremendous year under Marion's tutelage. And then they also had a guy by the name of Jacob DeJesus who transferred to Cal, but at UNLV, he had 36 catches for 512 yards. It'll be interesting to see how many pass catchers get involved. I don't necessarily know if this is an offense that will spread the ball out a lot because if you look at it, even Sac State this year, it goes 37-24, and then it drops down to 15, right? And those were a running back. So I'm not really sure if there's going to be a lot of receivers who get involved, and that's where I'd worry a little bit about like the third and fourth guy, like say Quentin Gibson or whoever else, Colorado's Xavier McDonald, the true freshman who just committed or flipped from Sac State. I don't know if it's going to be a fit for all of these receivers. I don't know if everyone's going to be able to get fed, but Joseph Williams and Omarion Miller are both NFL caliber talents, and I think they're better than outside of Jordan Addison and maybe Xavier Worthy. I would assume they're probably better than all of the receivers that Brennan Marion has worked with, and I think he's going to really take their skill set to the next level. Just working with them, and in this offense, it's like you guys are the ones that are going to be fed. So up next, I'm going to go to the two running backs who I think showed me the most this year. We'll see who sticks around. I know Colorado's running back room is probably going to look a lot different next year. I do expect them to take in a few transfers simply because, I mean, they fell apart quickly. They got injured, and they didn't have enough depth. But Micah Welch, assuming Colorado could keep him, led the team in rushing, 384 yards, 4 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. I liked what I saw from him. He's a physical back, and I also think Dallin Hayden was a really impressive back. But I'm going to go Micah Welch and Draylon Miller, assuming Draylon Miller stays at running back. I think Draylon Miller has the highest ceiling out of any of Colorado's running backs. I just think he still has to learn the position. And I think being in an offense where life's a little bit easier for the running backs, like running back wise, Sacramento State had 3 guys rush for 500 yards. UNLV, they had, I think it was 2 or 3 as well. Like they are an offense, or this is going to be an offense where it's like, okay, if you're a running back, be ready to tote the rock and be ready to tote the rock a lot, right? UNLV rushed for 250 yards per game. So they had 2 running backs that rushed for 600 or more yards, and then they had another running back who rushed for 366. But, I mean, they also had Haj Malik Williams, who was a very, very dual threat type of guy. He had 161 carries on the year. So I expect there to be a huge uptick in running back production, and I think Draylon Miller, the Miller brothers, they're both going to do really well next year. But Draylon Miller, I think, will be the biggest beneficiary from the running back position, as will Michael Welch. As long as he could stay healthy, as long as they both could stay healthy, protect the football, I think those are the guys who are going to get the Marion bump, if you will, and sort of turn into stars for the Colorado Buffaloes next year. And some of these guys are already stars, but some of these guys like Omarion Miller, Joseph Williams, Julian Lewis, I think they could go from fan favorites around Colorado to household names around college football. When we come back, we're going to talk about the transfer portal players that I would target right now if I were Colorado. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Omaha Steaks. The holidays come with 2 big goals: feeding people well and finding gifts that they'll actually love, right? Nobody wants that ugly sweater. Nobody wants those socks. You want a gift that you love. And When you want both handled in one move, Omaha Steaks is the way to go. From hosting to gifting, they deliver the world's best steak experience right to your door. You don't even have to go anywhere. It goes right to your door. And we all know we're a little lazy this holiday season. So because during their Sizzle All the Way sale, you could stock up and save in a huge way. 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. And the best part, Locked On College listeners get an extra $35 off with code COLLEGE at checkout. Why would you want to get some Omaha Steaks? Well, for me, I have a few people in my life who are very hard to shop for, whether it's my uncle, my father. Like they don't really they don't want a jacket. They don't want t-shirts. My dad's been wearing the same shirts my entire life. They want something that they're going to use. And I don't really know what tools that they need in their garage, but I know they like to grill and I know they like to eat some quality food. And so there's so many options at Omaha Steaks. They have fillets, burgers, comfort meals, sides, desserts. You could build a box for anyone. And my favorite part, there's a little bit of holiday magic, right? You don't have to wait for Santa Claus to come rolling around on December 25th. If you order by 6 p.m. Eastern, it'll ship that same day. So save big on gourmet gifts and more holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Sizzle All the Way sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code COLLEGE at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. That's Omaha Steaks, code COLLEGE. Speaking of holiday shopping, the holidays are here if you didn't know. And this year, I'm not really stressing about what I'm going to wear because I'm going to be wearing my Doers, right? And I'm also not going to be stressing about what I'm going to buy people because I'm going to buy them Doers. Doers Denim and Lifestyle Apparel is engineered for movement and versatility. Whether I'm on the go, traveling, lounging at home, or going to a nice dinner party, Doer can do it all. I've been recommending Doer to all my friends. These are my favorite jeans to wear for any occasion. I can really tell a difference with Doer's high-quality temperature regulating Cool Max fabrics. They keep me warm, but I don't overheat. It's time for you to experience comfort of Doer. I know you'll love these. Pick up a pair yourself or as an amazing holiday gift for someone else. Check out Doer in store in Denver at 2621 Laramie Street. Mention my promo code LOCKEDONDenver in store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online at shopdoer.com/LockedOnDenver for 15% off. That's shopdoer.com/LockedOnDenver. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate all of you for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make me your first listen of the day. Make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sport podcast network in the business, part of your daily routine, because you won't want to miss out on any of your content, and we have you covered every single day. Let's talk transfer portal. So Colorado has, I think, room for about 30-ish guys, if not more, 30 to 40 guys, and that's before we even discuss the departures. They have clear needs all over the field. For me, I think defensively, I'm more concerned about this team than any position because I think they have good receivers returning. I know they have a great quarterback returning. The offensive line, for the most part, I think Gunnar White did a really good job with the development of these guys, and I'm hoping that he could continue to do so. And so the offense, I mean, there's some positions that I think could be bumped, but defensively is where I'm concerned the most. And so I went through the transfer portal, and right now the portal's not officially open until January, but there's guys announcing their intentions. So you're basically having to work behind the scenes now. And here's the guys that I would target right now if I were Colorado. So starting off in the defensive line, I'm going to go with Ezra Christensen from New Mexico State University. Started his career at Fresno State, had a breakout year this past season. 6 sacks, was the 11th highest graded interior defense lineman in college football. A little bit undersized. He's not that 300-pound defensive lineman that you'd like, but I mean, Colorado, they got a lot of Chidozie Nwankwo out of Houston last year. So I really liked what I saw from him. My favorite part about him, outside of a run defense grade of 77.4 and a pass rush grade of 86.5, he could literally play all over the line. If you watch his film, they lined him up at edge. They lined him up in the interior. They lined him up anywhere they wanted because he's so versatile. He had 6 sacks last year, and I really think for a Colorado defensive line that banked a lot on Jaheim Otis, that banked a lot on other guys, where it was like, okay, now we're moving offensive linemen to the defensive line. Now we're moving Torian Carter, who's not really expected to play, and like they took hits or they took swings on other transfers and it didn't work out. This is a guy that I think can step in, make an impact right away, and be someone for the Colorado Buffaloes that quite frankly, they were missing this year, which is why teams shredded them repeatedly in the rushing attack. So Ezra Christensen out of New Mexico State is a must get for Colorado. I'm sure a lot of other programs will be after him, but the Buffs really need some help in the interior defense line, and having someone who they can move all over if there's injuries or just they want to get creative so defenses can't key in on him. That's where Ezra Christensen comes into play. Up next, I'm going Christian Thatcher from Utah, former 4-star linebacker. He didn't play this year, didn't play a lot at least. He was a depth linebacker, didn't really record any stats for Utah. That being said, there was a reason that he was ranked so highly. Out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Colorado was in on him. They were the only other program that he took an official visit to outside of Utah. But as a recruit, he had programs like Arizona, Cal, Arizona State, Nevada, Michigan State, Oklahoma, Oregon, Tennessee, USC, you name it. Everyone was after this kid. And the reason he didn't really play for Utah, and I hate, this is the hard part. Utah had a very, very deep linebacker room. They had some veterans. I know Levani DeMooney was still there. I don't think they had a room for him, which is unfortunate because I think he's going to be a talented guy. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, he doesn't have any stats. Why would you want someone who's so inexperienced to play? Colorado needs depth at linebacker. Colorado had, I believe, 4 linebackers this past year, 5 linebackers that they played. And I would say about 2 of them were actually playable. I would say the other 3 that they got out of the portal were absolute whiffs. And they need guys who they not only are long-term investments like Thatcher would be, he's going to have 4 years of eligibility. He's a guy that could develop into something, right? So even if he's not a starter right away, he could be a key contributor right away for the Buffs. And I think they should really revisit that relationship. In this transfer portal era, sometimes finishing second isn't as bad, right? Because although I don't always agree that Coach Prime saying that every recruit's going to leave, there are a large amount of recruits who will leave. And so having that relationship, that pre-existing relationship can help you out. And I think that's something that Colorado should lean on here with Utah linebacker Christian Thatcher. 6'2", 204 pounds. He needs to get a little bit bigger, obviously, but I do think that there's some room for him in that linebacker room. Up next, familiar name, Boo Carter. Another guy that Colorado was recruiting heavily, didn't end up getting him. He left the team or was leaving the team last spring, and I talked about how Colorado was very much in the mix, and then it ended up being confirmed that they were sort of in the mix, but he ultimately returned to Tennessee. He left the team again this year. This time it seemed like he was dismissed from the team based on what was being reported. Still, 25 tackles, 3 pass deflections, a sack, 3 forced fumbles, and he's a versatile athlete, punt returner, could probably play slot receiver, could probably play running back. And when you're a Colorado team who very thin at running back this season, it felt like they were all injured. You need someone like Boo Carter who could come in, make plays. So if I'm Coach Prime, I'm kicking the tires on Boo Carter again. I know it hasn't worked out 2 times now, but again, someone this talented is out there available. He's an all SEC caliber guy. I think he could be a playmaker in the Big 12, and I think he could be a playmaker for the Colorado Buffaloes. Up next, Kamori House, North Carolina. Now, his PFF grades aren't the best, but I would assume that most of North Carolina's PFF grades weren't that great considering how terrible of a team they were. That being said, 78 total tackles, a sack, a linebacker with plenty of experience, started his career at Washington and played a little bit there. I think Colorado needs help bad at linebacker. There's a reason that there's 2 linebackers on my list of portal needs, because Colorado was terrible at linebacker and defenses took advantage of them every which way, right? Quarterbacks could run whenever they wanted, or offense, took advantage of them. Quarterbacks could run however they wanted. Running backs were just constantly running the ball down their throat. And so I think Colorado really needs to go all in on the front 7, specifically at the linebackers. Up next, another position that's severely underwhelmed this year, and I thought they'd have one of the best secondaries in the country, was the cornerback group. I don't really know what DJ McKinney's future is. I don't know if it's with Colorado. I don't know if he's going to try to go to the NFL. I don't know if he's going to transfer. He was projected as a first-round pick before the year, and I don't even see him ranked as a top 10 corner in the NFL draft anymore. So his stock has taken a major hit. He probably needs to return to college. Whether or not he's going to feel inclined to return to Colorado, I'm not sure. That's why Colorado should go after Georgia transfer Daniel Harris. He's 6'3", super athletic. Had some pretty big experiences last year. He started in the SEC championship game, started in the college football playoff last year for Georgia. Now, the worry with Daniel Harris was he had a hamstring injury this year, and Kirby Smart also made a comment that basically said the reason he wasn't playing as much is because he wasn't practicing well. And we all know how Coach Prime is with guys who don't practice well. They normally don't play well. So that's where the risk comes in, because Colorado is one of those places where it's like they base a lot of on how you practice. That's the reason we saw a walk-on running back with no career touches get a snap against Arizona State and fumble the game away. Like there's a reason like he was playing. He practiced well. So if Daniel Harris isn't going to ramp it up for practice, I don't know if he's a fit for Colorado. That being said, I have a hard time imagining a corner who comes in and plays for Deion Sanders can't figure it out and can't ramp it up, right? And especially sort of getting a reality check from Georgia. Like I think he knows this is sort of his last hurrah, I guess you could say. And then lastly, running back CJ Baxter out of Texas. He was the Big 12 offensive newcomer of the year a couple years ago when Texas was in the Big 12, obviously. This year, quiet year. He went from 138 carries for 659 yards and 5 touchdowns to 54 yards for 196 yards, or excuse me, 54 carries for 196 yards, 3.6 yards per carry. Super explosive as a true freshman in 2023. Had a severe knee injury this past year that kept him out of the game, or out of all the season, the entire season, excuse me. CJ Baxter is a former 5-star out of Florida. I think Colorado should kick the tires. I know we didn't see him at his fullest potential this past year. He looked slower. He looked like he wasn't as elusive, but I think having more time to recover, more time to work, and being in an offense like Brennan Marion's, I think it could really help him sort of take that next step. So those are the transfers I would target right now if I were Colorado. There's going to be plenty more names that I'll keep you guys updated on as the portal opens, but those are the guys that I would personally go after if I were Colorado. They need depth at these positions. They need talent. And right now, the portal is just getting started. So make sure to stay tuned over here at Locked On Buffs. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about Shedeur Sanders and why I think a lot of people are getting their take on him a little bit wrong. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when the great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible, so you can check off that bucket list item. Prices include fees up front, which I love. There's no last-second surprise at checkout where your seat is all of a sudden $300 more expensive. Alerts for teams and matches makes it easy to grab tickets the moment they drop. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go Game Time. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow, because the Locked On Podcast Network is also the #1 sports podcasting network in the business. Now, interesting narrative around Shedeur Sanders. He balled out this past week, threw for 350-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, rushed for a touchdown. The Browns lost because they're the Browns. I mean, they took him off the field for a 2-point conversion, tried some wildcat BS that didn't work. But Shedeur Sanders is looking more and more like the projected first-round pick that we all knew he was. First-round talent that we all knew he was, right? People could say whatever they want. He fell to the 5th or whatever. Doesn't matter. I think he's the future of the Browns at the quarterback position. I think the Browns would be smart to build around him. But notable names like Todd McShay, Stephen A. Smith, they're saying his future is not with the Browns. They're saying that Shedeur Sanders is basically playing his way into be trading somewhere else, which part of me is like, yeah, that probably work out. I think he's going to be good wherever he goes. That being said, I don't think Kevin Stefanski is a lifer with the Browns by any means. I think if the Browns had to pick between Stefanski and Shedeur, I think they're going to go with the quarterback who's showing star potential that is one of the most marketable players in the NFL. I don't think they're going to stick with the coach who, 1, really wanted Dillon Gabriel, 2, really stuck with Dillon Gabriel when it's obvious that he wasn't that good, or at least not ready, right? It took until Dillon Gabriel to get injured for Shedeur to get an actual shot. And 3, I think Kevin Stefanski has sort of outstayed his welcome. And I think in an era of the NFL, college football, the NBA, whatever it is, where fans are as vocal, fans are as dialed in as ever, with fans not pleased with Kevin Stefanski. I think his time is running out in Cleveland. So I fully expect for Shedeur Sanders to be there next year. I think Shedeur Sanders should be who they build around, not Mr. Stefanski, who I think will be on the outs this year. So let me know what you guys think. If you were the Browns, would you keep Shedeur? Would you keep Stefanski? I don't think Stefanski's done enough to keep him, but I do think Shedeur has shown enough flashes to at least give him more of an opportunity with better talent around him. So that's what I have for you guys today. Appreciate all of you for tuning in, making Locked On Buffs your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and I will see y'all tomorrow.